Welcome to the Wonder Space Show with Miss Natalie.
In a place you want to discover, there's so much to uncover. Are you an explorer? Yes! Then join us on an adventure. All you need to do is
Look closely, think carefully.
solve many problems.
Wait, that's not all.
We are the Wonder Space Explorers. We create things big or small and beautiful. We are WONDERFUL. We are wonderful. La 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 la. Wonder Space.
Is that a meteoroid heading for Earth? Oh, hello. I'm sure you're wondering, are we learning about space today? Well, not quite. We are actually going to study about a very special lake. I'm sure you're thinking, a lake? I will explain. Did you know that rocks from space can travel through the Earth's atmosphere and hit the Earth's surface? Don't panic. This is a rare occurrence. Most meteoroids burn up in the atmosphere, forming meteors or shooting stars. But occasionally, large meteorites hit the Earth's surface. When this happens, a huge hole or depression is formed in the Earth. This hole or depression is known as an impact crater. Today, we're going to learn about an impact crater in Ghana. There are about 150 impact craters all over the world. So this makes our impact crater very special. And it's even more special because it's a meteoritic lake or an impact crater lake. We'll find out what that really means. Have you heard about Lake Bosomtwe? Lake Bosomtwe is no ordinary lake. I'm sure you're thinking, Miss Natalie, are you saying that many years ago, a huge meteorite hit some part of Ghana, a huge crater was formed, and that crater filled up with water? Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. Lake Bosomtwe is located in the Ashanti region. Many years ago, scientists were eager to find out how Lake Bosomtwe was formed. These scientists are known as geologists. Geologists study our Earth and specifically rocks to find out what happened thousands and thousands of years ago, sometimes millions of years ago. Geologists are very special. What geologists do sounds like what we do as Wonder Space Explorers, doesn't it? Explore and discover. Geologists study our Earth and look at land formations and explore and study our rocks to find clues. Many years ago, some geologists thought that Lake Bosomtwe was formed by volcanic activity. A volcano? Some other geologists said no, and they started looking for clues of their own. They found some very strong clues that indicated that Lake Bosomtwe was formed by a meteorite. But how? Wonder Space Explorers, I think we need to visit this fascinating lake ourselves. This lake was formed 1.7 million years ago. That's a really long time. 1.7 million years ago, a huge meteorite hit a part of Ghana. Are you ready to see this lake for yourself? We're heading to the Ashanti region. Are you ready for our adventure? Let's go! We made it from Accra to Kumasi, and we drove an hour and a half to Abono village in the Ashanti region. Let's start our discovery. Can you guess where we are? That's right, you can see the lake behind me. We are at Lake Bosomtwe. The water looks so amazing. Let's go closer. As you can see, the lake is quite large. The diameter across the lake is said to be 8 kilometers. Do you want to know how deep it is? It is about 80 meters deep. This is a really, really large lake. And as we said, it was formed by that's right, meteorite. Can you imagine many, many years ago, a meteorite dropping from the sky and going boom? That must have been really scary. But now it's filled with water. Let's go. We're going to go on a boat ride. Are you ready for a boat ride? Come on, let's go. Wonder Space Explorers, can you see the boats behind me? We're going on a boat ride on Lake Bosomtwe. We're going to see just how wide and how deep the lake is. We're going to see some of the mountainous ranges around the lake. Are you ready? Let's go. We're on the boat. What do we need when we're on the boat? You need your life jacket. On the Space Explorers, you always have to be safe. Wondering, what are these sticks? Those are the traps for the fish. And behind me, if you can see some wooden boards, those are the fishing boats or fishing planks. Okay, so that's what the fisherman will fish on. And you can see some fishermen there and their nets. Can you see the nets? All right, so we talked about the fishing. What type of fish do the fishermen catch? They catch fish like tilapia. Do you like tilapia? There's lots and lots of tilapia in this lake. And remember, it's a freshwater lake. Many, many years ago, they also had fish like catfish, mudfish, and jewelfish during the rainy season though. Now, the most common fish is the tilapia fish. We're going faster now. The wind is blowing, yay! Wonder Space Explorers, we've gotten to the part of the lake where there's a really old tree. Can you see the really old tree over there? That tree is supposed to be 381 years old. As you can see, it's really old. It's like falling apart, but there are new leaves forming. Do you remember how many years ago the meteorite was said to have hit Lake Bosomtwe or this area? That's right, 1.7 million years ago. So before, there would have been thick trees, just like all the thick trees that we can see on the mountainous range over there. But then when the meteorites hit, boom, there was a huge crater. That's right, crater, and the crater filled up with water. But some trees did grow. An example is that tree. Now that tree is said to be an odum tree. And that tree is said to be really, really strong. It can be used for building houses. As you can see, it's really strong because it's still standing in the middle of the water. And below water level is about 9 meters deep. So that's quite a tall tree, even though it's broken. So according to legend, a hunter discovered this lake and stayed within this area. At the time, there were only about 47 people living around the lake. Now there are about 30 villages around the whole lake. Ooh, look at how close we are to the tree.
Touch it, go and touch it.
I could touch it.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, I'm going to touch the tree.
One some. It's old.
Whoa. If you look over here, you can see all the trees, thick trees all around the lake. There are different types of animals that live in the lake, including antelopes. There's an interesting story about an antelope and this lake, and I will tell you about it later. We're heading back to shore. I've had so much fun on the water. And the mountain ranges look so pretty behind us. Wonder Space Explorers, you can see a fisherman. So he's on the plank. Bye, fisherman. We're back. We're going to see if there are any interesting rocks or soil patterns that we can find. Are you ready? Let's go. Remember, said geologists look around for clues. Shiny, dark. So this soil is quite dark. Are there any interesting rocks or pebbles that we can find? Let's see. I'm going to take some. Ooh. Wonder Space Explorers, we have one really dark rock and one really light rock. We'll take it back to the studio and find out. I'm going to take some more rocks with us. We can see the tilapia, there are different sizes. We have the smaller ones and we have the bigger ones. And we have the tiny ones as well. Space Explorers, here Mr. John is one of our fishermen and he has all his nets. So at the moment he's cleaning some of his nets and making sure they don't get tangled. Oh wow, can you see what Mr. John is doing? He's cleaning the net by hitting it. On this side, let's take some back with us and investigate what type of rocks do we have here. Wonder Space Explorers, they're tiny, tiny, tiny fish. The plank of wood we're standing on, what other fishermen will use to fish. So we have some there, there, and there. They have to have amazing balance so they don't fall off. The nets look so clean when they are done, and it's actually quite soft. Wow! At the base, they have the rocks to help the nets sink down while they're fishing. This is really amazing, an amazing process. We've learned so much about the lake. We can see how large the lake really is. And so imagine when the geologists were doing their experiments and their exploration, they would have had to go to the middle of the lake to drill how many meters deep? About 800 meters deep to really find out, is this a lake that was formed by a meteorite? How was the lake formed? So the geologists did a lot of work around the lake, and that's how we're able to come to some form of conclusion that the lake was formed by a meteorite, and it's a crater lake. Now, Lake Bosomtwe is one of the few crater lakes in the whole world. That makes Lake Bosomtwe very, very special. Wonder Space Explorers, we are taking back some rocks with us. As you can see, we have different types, different colors. And we're going to try and see if any of the rocks are magnetic in any way, or if we can find any other interesting information or clues in these rocks. Let's go. I found another rock. We're definitely taking back this one with us. Really, it has like some pink and fuchsia colors in there. We have to take this one with us. Let's go. That was amazing. What a lovely place. What lovely views. Do you remember that we talked about how geologists study rocks for clues? So I brought some rocks just in case that we find something special too. Many years ago, geologists found rocks that helped people determine that Lake Bosomtwe was formed by a meteorite. Some of the things that they found out were the type of impact rocks. Now, these rocks form when there's a lot of heat and high pressure. And when a meteorite is coming all the way from space at top speed and it hits the ground, the explosion is extremely hot. So certain rocks form in those places. Another thing that they found is something called tektites. Now, tektites are a form of impact glass. But guess what? These tektites weren't found near Lake Bosomtwe. No, it took many years before they finally found traces in Côte d'Ivoire, which is a neighboring country. So after a lot of research, they were able to connect the tektites or impact glass all the way in Côte d'Ivoire to Lake Bosomtwe. But that just goes to show how powerful the impact from the meteorite was. Can you imagine? The trees there would have been burnt up, destroyed, and the rock there would have been blasted off. Isn't it fascinating that rocks can tell us about the history of the earth? I think that's so amazing. Lake Bosomtwe is special for many reasons, and it's changed over the years. The depth of the water changes based on the rainy season, dry season, activity around the lake. Speaking of the activity, we saw lots of things. We saw the fishermen on their boats, which were planks of wood. We saw the woman with the fish. Do you remember the types of fish that come out of Lake Bosomtwe? That's right, tilapia. That's one of the most common fish that you can find at Lake Bosomtwe. Wonder Space Explorers, in the boat, I mentioned that I'll tell you a story or a legend around Lake Bosomtwe. Are you ready to hear the story? Once upon a time, there was an Ashanti hunter from the city of Asaman. He was chasing an injured antelope through the rainforest. Suddenly, the animal disappeared in a small pond, or maybe a large lake. It was as if this body of water wanted to save the animal's life. The hunter never got the antelope. He never saw the antelope again. But he decided to settle next to the lake. He started to catch fish, and then he named the place Bosomtwe, which means the antelope god. Perhaps because the lake saved the antelope. Lake Bosomtwe is special for many reasons. For the people who live around the lake, Lake Bosomtwe is considered a sacred lake. That's one of the main reasons why the fishermen use a special type of plank for fishing. Lake Bosomtwe is also one of the youngest impact crater lakes that have been studied in this much detail. It's so amazing that we have a lake in Ghana that is so special. Wonder Space Explorers, can you guess what time it is? It's time for our activity. Today, we're going to have an experiment where we make our very own craters. I've made my own little meteorites with Play-Doh. Now I use Play-Doh so I could control the size. I have my yellow Play-Doh balls as my smallest meteorites and the red Play-Doh ball as the largest meteorite. Now you'll be looking at things like size, speed, and height. You're also going to need some flour and cocoa powder. You can also use some sand if you have enough sand at home. And you're going to need a ruler as well. Are you ready to start experimenting? Are you ready to start making craters? Let's go! Pour my flour in the container. You can also use a baking tray So the flower is going to act as a surface of the Earth. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Okay, now I'm going to use some cocoa powder, which will act as our top soil. Woohoo! Just sprinkle at the top. Oh Lord. All right, we have our Earth. Wonder Space Explorers, can you guess which meteorite will form the largest crater? Will it be our small yellow ball or our red ball? Or will it be our blue one? Let's find out. Ready to rumble! Maybe you should wear a mask. Let's try our blue ball now. Now, let's try our red. Did you see how our largest meteorite ejected the most amount of Earth? So which one do you think made the largest crater? That's right, the red one, our largest meteorite. You can double check by measuring. You can use the centimeter section or you could use the inches. I'm going to use the centimeters. I'm sure you guessed it right. Our largest meteorite created the largest crater, and our smallest meteorite created the smallest crater. Now, Wonder Space Explorers, we just looked at meteorite size and crater size. Now, what do you think will happen if we use the same size meteorite but at different heights? What do you think will happen if we start at a lower height? What if we start at a really, really high point? What will happen? Let's try it out, and you can try it at home too. Okay, so let's start dropping it from different heights. I'm going to start at eye level while I'm sitting down. All right, now I'm going to try much higher. Let's see. Okay. There is a difference. Now what you can do is you can even stand up or try going as high as you possibly can and see what differences occur. Do you know what will be amazing? If you have a sheet of paper where you take note of what you're doing. You can measure the size of your balls or meteorite, and you can measure the size of the crater. Take note of the size of your meteorite and the size of the crater. You can write that down, and you can also take note of the heights, okay? And then note that down as well. Will you spot a difference? Will you spot a pattern? That's part of your experiment. Do you remember how much Earth was ejected when this large meteorite hit the face of the Earth? So can you imagine how large the meteorite had to be at Lake Bosomtwe to have that huge crater that filled up with water? I hope you had a lot of fun with your experiment. Wonder Space Explorers, we've learned so much about Lake Bosomtwe and impact crater lakes. Did you ever think that a meteorite could form a lake? We've learned so much, and I'm so proud of you. And as I say at the end of all our lessons, Wonder Space Explorers are wonderful. Thank you for joining, and see you next time.